Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to do my full review on the Kizer Drop Bear. So I got this in, I don't know, last week sometime, and I want to get this knocked out because I just got a custom lefty knife from Matthew Ware. It's fucking amazing. Watch my last video. And, well, I want to carry that, and this has been in my front left pocket the last 4 or 5 days and has dominated it, and it's been amazing. And it has nothing to do with this knife. I just want to carry that other knife, and so I thought it'd be best to wrap this up, and then I can put this in the case and carry it occasionally because I really love it. This does not feel like a knife that I'm going to turn around and just sell or give away right away. Now, this was sent to me by Kizer, so take that with a grain of salt. Everything I say has to have some kind of bias to it because this knife was free, right? I did not pay for this knife. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be dishonest or tell you it's amazing when it's not. It just means you have to take it into consideration. I did not pay my hard-earned money for this. That has to mentally affect something, right? I don't know what. I don't know the algorithm to that in my brain or everybody's brain, but it is something I really like to tell you guys when that's the case, because I feel like I'm going to go on a tangent here. Let me put this driver away because I was using it earlier. I feel like it's something in the community that is kind of overlooked. I feel like a lot of channels, a lot of us get stuff, right? Like we get things for free. It's not necessarily free. Like Kizer obviously assumes I'm going to do a review on this and that's going to help them. They didn't stipulate that. I didn't sign a contract, none of that kind of stuff. I didn't get an affiliate link. I just am going to link their website. So sometimes it's different than others, but usually they're obviously assuming they're going to get something out of sending it to me. So I feel like it's overlooked in the community when a channel gets stuff. They don't necessarily always tell you. Now, is that an obligation? No. I mean, the channel doesn't have to tell you how they got what, but I'm the type of person who wants to be as transparent as I can possibly be. And that's something I like you guys to know so you can help decide how maybe what I'm saying, you know what I mean? Again, I never change what I feel or think about a knife because it was free or because I got a discount or because I paid full price or because I got it on the secondary and paid way more. I still always give my honest opinion, but it's got to affect my opinion slightly, you know? Like, if I had $200 into this, I honestly don't even know what this costs. I'm not going to lie. I'm assuming it's got to be like $150-ish, maybe more. Kizer's prices are usually pretty good, but you got 20 CB and fat carbon, so I would assume it's probably around there. 150 to 200. If it's less, that's fucking amazing. But if I had $200 into this, and let's say the fat carbon had little white spots in it, because that's a thing with fat carbon that I kind of hate sometimes, but you get that. And I feel like sometimes it develops, which is weird. But I would probably bitch about those little white spots a lot more than I would bitch if this knife was free. Does that make sense? I would still mention the white spots, but like I might just be like, okay, it has some white spots. Where if I had a $200 on the line, I'd be like, damn, these white spots kind of suck. See what I'm saying? So just take it with consideration that this knife was provided by Kizer and all that good stuff. I did take this apart partly. You'll see the video on that, or you may have already seen it, where I took the scales off the front side and the back side, and then you can adjust the clutch lock. It's called the clutch lock. It's a crossbar axis style lock. And you can essentially take the spring and set it into 5 different holes, and that will let you adjust the tension. So if you put it at the upper hole, it's going to have more tension than if you put it at the bottom hole, and that'll affect how hard it is to pull this spring down, as well as how much it pulls the blade in, right? So then they also provide you with different thickness of springs. So It comes with 0.55 millimeter springs, and then it also has a set separately in the box of 0.6 millimeter springs. And those will obviously give you a little more tension. So you have a lot of settings. Technically, you have 10 different settings you could set it to. And if you got crazy, you could probably set one side of this and one side of that, and that would maybe affect things. I don't know. Personally, I would put the thick springs on the highest setting to make it as strong as possible because I want a snappy detent, and no matter what you do on an axis lock, you're not going to get a ton of tension. So the stronger, the better. Now, mine came with the extra springs, but they were both for the left side or whatever, or maybe the right side, so I couldn't put those in. I ended up putting in ones I got on Amazon. You can order Omega springs on Amazon. They were like $7, and I got 2 sets. So I put those in, and Kizer sent me a new set of the thick ones. So once I get those, I will put them in here and put it on the strong setting. From what I could tell, the ones I got on Amazon were slightly thicker than the ones that came with the knife. So maybe it's somewhere between 0.55 and 0.6, or I don't know. Anyway, the clutch lock is really cool. So you have the tabs like an axis lock. You can see how it just dangles. So the action's really good. It's on bearings, which is cool compared to a lot of axis style knives. And the centering is dead on. I mean, I was so impressed in the disassembly video, if you watch it, where most axis style locks, look at Benchmade, Hogue, SOG, look at whatever you want. Even the Ashers, when you start messing with the pivots, because they usually always have dual-sided pivots, right? A spinning pivot situation kind of thing. It's not usually a captive and then one side. Once you start messing with that, the centering goes all over the place. You get blade play all over the place. And it's almost impossible to get a Benchmade, especially out of the box, where there's no play at all. It drops like this, right? And it's dead centered. That's nearly impossible out of the box. And if you have any like that, congratulations, you won the lottery. Benchmade has gotten way better with their QC, but it's just inherent with the design, with the axis lock and the way they have it with the washers. Especially the washers is the key there, I think, because washer knives just make it really hard to adjust. But this knife out of the box, insanely solid. Side to side, dropped like that, dead nuts down the center. And even after taking this pivot out, that pivot out, swapping springs 80 times and messing with it, I then glued these pivot screws back in where I liked it. And I don't think the centering wavered one time throughout that whole process, but I have no play, right? No up and down on an axis lock, no up and down. And I got this. And now I have decent tension on an axis style lock. That blows my mind, guys. This is like my biggest surprise knife of the year. So that's why I'm being very enthusiastic here. So this is like the surprise knife of 2022 for me, because when this knife came out, I basically was like, what the hell is everybody so excited about? Why are people going gaga over this thing? Like, everybody and their mom was making videos. Everybody and their mom was buying this. Everybody and their mom was talking about this clutch lock and talking about the Drop Bear and how amazing it is. And you can get all these scales and you can do all this shit. And I just sat back going, why? Why do people like this? Like, look at it. It's, first off, I will say, aesthetically, getting into the review, aesthetically, the design is not really like my favorite. I don't like the snubby sort of spear point blades. It's just not the way I roll. But it has grown on me since getting it. Now, is that placebo effect or whatever the hell you want to call that? Maybe a little bit. But there's something to be said about getting a knife in, feeling how comfortable ergos are and how good action is, and then kind of letting the design grow on you, if that makes sense. Where when you just see it in pictures, you're just like, you know, because all you see is the aesthetic. And you're just like, not for me, right? But I love everything else about this knife so much that it's like, okay, it looks cool, you know? And it does look cool. And with this toxic fat carbon on here, toxic storm maybe it's called, the yellow and green, and the blackwash blade, 20 CV. I mean, it's freaking amazing. It really is. They also have a Arctic fat carbon with, I believe, a stonewash, and that one's in LMAX, which also looks really cool. I'm tempted to just buy one of those to have both. Maybe blade swap or something. I don't know. But yeah, so aesthetically, it's not my favorite thing in the world, but I do appreciate it more now than I did before. It's almost, you know, a sheep's foot. It's a spear point for sure, but it's starting to come down, and you can utilize it very easily, get to that tip. You just don't have a ton of penetration because it's kind of a snubby type tip. I've said the same thing about like the K9 Jack from Jack Wolf Knives, the Baby Barlow from EDC. Just some knives have that stubby tip that I don't love, but it's fine. The thumb studs are really nice. Again, the fat carbon looks great. The clip. Let's talk about the clip aesthetically. I think it looks fine. It gives it a milled clip look, yet it's a loop over clip. And I believe it is titanium. I didn't get any... it didn't magnetize to anything, so I believe it's titanium. I do wish it was inset, and I wish the screws were inset. Now, I understand both for cost and the fact that it's reversible, they didn't do that. And I think part of that is it's going to be preference. When you do a reversible clip, is it better to just have two holes, keep everything nice and flat and flush so it still looks kind of good, versus having a big cutout right here with an indent, and that would kind of look like shit, right? So then you got to do a filler tab. And do you have enough material here to do that? And it's just, it ends up being a cost factor at that point. You could just put the clip on top and have it inset a little bit, you know? Another way to get around that is to just do the cutout for right-handed, because most people are right-handed. You could have the indent there on the right side, so it sits flush and everything, and then on the left side, just have it sit on top like this. That's one way to do it, but I'm fine with the clip the way it is, and I'm sure the price isn't, you know, that crazy that it's going to be a big deal for people. The tension is amazing. The clip is amazing. It's thick titanium, and it's springy, and there's no tap. I freaking love this clip, gotta say. Yeah. So aesthetically, I am on board with this knife. Do I love the Proud liners? You know, I could have done with inset liners, but it's really hard on a knife like this with the crossbar lock and all that stuff going on to pull that off. So I think for what it is, they did a great job with it. So aesthetically, this would, you know, if I ranked it, it would probably be like a 5 out of 10 for me. It's not bad, but it's not like something I'm drooling over, you know? But that's probably going to be the only category where I'm a little bit average on. You know what I mean? So if we're talking about aesthetics, we got to skip to ergos now. This thing is wonderful in the hand. Now, it's not the thinnest knife in the world, but that sometimes is a good thing, right? Sometimes that makes it to where you get a really good... So yeah, it's over half an inch, 0.52. So think it's a little bit thicker than the stout. But you do have the Proud liners, then the fat carbon, so I get it. You have to get the axis bar in there, all that stuff. But the way it fits in your hand is really good. I mean, you could use this thing all day, which I think is the point of this knife, is for users, right? Having that easy open close with the clutch lock. You guys can see in my shorts, on my YouTube shorts, you can see me opening and closing this, flicking it and everything with gloves on. And that's kind of the thing here, right? It's what this lock is meant to be good with, right? And it is. It's great with that. So the ergos are fantastic. Gloved or not gloved, for work knife or EDC, fantastic ergonomics. My hand just fits right in there. You have a nice little swell here. It comes out a little bit and then swells back here. Nicely rounded out to the back here. And then you have a nice curvature to the spine that's very, very subtle. And it just really melts in the hand. Can you choke up? You could choke up a little bit if you really wanted to, but I'm always back here. I'm close enough to the edge just fantastic, really, with the ergonomics. And getting into the comfort with the axis lock, because clutch lock, because that is a huge factor on a knife with a crossbar lock. I don't know what to call it, guys. Just, you know what I mean when I say axis, clutch, crossbar. It's all the same. A huge factor is how it fits in your palm. And this is going to be dependent on probably the size of your hand and everything. But this just rests right into the palm, nestles in, doesn't want to slip out like a lot of knives with this kind of lock that pisses me off. Hence, or the Mannix 2 from Spyderco. Everybody loves that knife. Well, for me, it slips out of my palm whenever I go to pull the ball lock or whatever that thing's called. This perfectly lines up, pulls it down, good to go, open, close, right? Flick. I don't have issues where I need to worry about it. And that's without even utilizing the clip, right? So now you add in the clip, which is reversible. I can now put some fingers right there on the clip, lock it in, boom. And it just makes it so easy. But I can still use it right-handed because of how it fits in my palm. I don't need that clip. I can also just grab it on the side like this if I needed to. But so the ergos are fantastic when it comes to disengaging and flicking the knife. Same thing when you're flicking, you want to have enough leverage and you get to grab the clip, fire, boom. Reverse flick, same thing. It palms really nicely and I can flick it out and then swing it down. Excellent on ergos. I would put it up there at 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Carry. We talked about this clip. It is phenomenal. I've never had an issue with that part catching, so I don't love that it's proud, but it doesn't actually cause any issues. Is it my favorite thing in the world that it has T6 screws? No. So you can see here, T6. I have them nice and tight. T6. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know why I need to prove it, but there you go. T6, all right? So I don't love that the knife uses a T6 on the clip, and then it also uses a T6 on the body screws. There's one here, and then there's one under the clip. Not my favorite thing in the world. And then, of course, you have a T8 up here, on your pivots. T8 on those. And I always think that these have little torques in them, but they don't. Just flat. So anyway, the clip is phenomenal. Carry's great. It's reversible. I can't really ask for more on this clip. Yeah, a super sexy, sleek, matching milled clip. Cool, got it. I know that would be cool. But you could add cost for that. It won't be as reversible. So, like, this is fine with me. I'm not the clip guy. I'm not worried about clips. Cutting. So I cut boxes. I cut paper. I opened boxes. I don't think I cut any zip tie. I might have cut a couple zip ties. I can't remember. But you can see here, 20 CV steel is done well. The edge, is done well. I haven't noticed any chipping or anything like that in my limited use. You guys know me. I'm not the steel guy. So if you're here for the edge geometry and the edge retention and all that stuff, I would recommend you go check out Jared's review or something like that. Check out Knives Knives or something like that. But it feels like a nice flat grind. It's not a super thin blade or a super tall blade, but it comes down to a decent edge. We can try to measure the behind the edge. My guess is going to be around 20 thousandths behind the edge. Oh, okay. Let me get lower there. 12. I don't know about that. Hold on. 16. I'm trying to get pretty low here just to be safe. 13. So, yeah, thinner than I thought. 14. So, a lot of these companies are realizing... Let me double check my 0 here and do it one more time. A lot of these companies are realizing that we want 16. Okay. So a lot of these companies are realizing that we want thinner edges, that we want nice thinness behind the edge, and that's what we're getting. I mean, it does feel really thin. It doesn't have a hollow or anything. It just didn't make me think like 12 thousandths or whatever, but I'll call it 15, 16 thousandths to be safe. That's phenomenal on a knife like this for EDC, and you know, it's 20 CV, so it should be plenty tough enough to handle some use for work if you're cutting boxes all day or something. I don't think I would use this for like heavy use, but I think the lock and everything could handle it. Just comes down to whether the blade could. I'm guessing the heat treat from Kizer is somewhere around 60, 61. That would be fine with me. Personally, I've never really questioned heat treat on anything, to be honest, except for actually the Demco 20.5s in their OS 10A. I definitely noticed the heat treat on that was soft. But other than that, I've never really had an issue with heat treat. The jimping's really good. I mean, I love that they brought that jimping all the way out. It's just really comfortable in the hand. You can grip it anywhere you need to in any of these grips, and it cuts really well. I mean, you don't need, yeah, I don't know. That's just, for me, I like it. It didn't feel like the sharpest edge ever out of the box, but you saw there, it cut paper just fine. But like, you know, I can run my finger on it, and it's grabbing a little bit, but it's not like really catching on my finger. It's doing a good job, for sure. But I have used it a bit as well, so there you go. Anyway, that's cutting. Sounds. Sounds are really good, in my opinion. Now, I did notice when I took it apart that, but I think that's just normal Axis crossbar style lock stuff. And maybe it's more pronounced when you set it at that higher tension, but I don't know why that was weird to me. But if you flick it, you know, you barely notice it. So I think that's just something in my head. So sounds are really good for a crossbar lock and all that good stuff. I'd put this at a 7 overall, like for any knife. I don't know. It just sounds good to flick and close, open, and, you know. Okay, so then we talk about action/fidget factor, and that's where this knife, like I said, it surprised the shit out of me, because the reason I don't buy or review a lot of Axis-style locks is because they always have weak detents. You can just, like, do this, and they fly out. They're super easy to fail. They just don't have a good resistance and everything, so it just isn't fun to reverse flick or play with. But the way they set this up with the clutch lock, where you can kind of do whatever you want, and it does have stronger settings, really was cool to me. I really like that. And it's strong enough that I have fun with it. Like, I can just flick it. I don't have to like wrist it out or anything. Like, I can just flick. Yes, I can fail it if I want to. I'm basically just pushing it out, but like if I flick it all, it fires. The reverse flick, I occasionally fail it left-handed because my index finger gets on the crossbar, I think, and it kind of like slows it up. If you have your finger on the lock, you know, it makes it hard to open. So as long as I stay off that and flick, it's fine. And I've just kind of learned to, I don't know, I just have it down at this point. I will say my natural reaction on the reverse flick is to give it a little wrist. I think that's less to do with the tension than it is to do with just me and the lock and wanting to just do it, you know. But it's phenomenal. I love the fidget factor. It closes and just drops. I showed you how it was has no play at all, and it's just like loosey-goosey here. It's on bearing, so it swings really well, perfectly centered. I mean, there's a lot of good here. The action/fidget factor for me is off the charts. So there you go. I mean, if I actually ranked every category, other than aesthetics, this thing would be in the upper tier of every one of the categories. So overall, it has to get a really positive review. And that surprises me because I didn't think it would. So that's the Kizer Drop Bear. I want to thank Kizer for sending this my way. I really do appreciate that. I can't wait to see what you guys do in 23. If it's anything like what you've done this year, you know, I kind of, at the end of the year here, came in a little bit, and I'm impressed with what you're doing. If that continues through 23, you guys are going to really shine in the industry, I think. The use of fat carbon is really cool. That's something we're all dying for. And to get it on affordable price knives really, really sets the tone, because that's kind of been the thing for a year or so now, is fat carbon's awesome, but it's so expensive. And it still is. But Kizer's buying enough of it, I guess, that they can afford to, you know, do these runs of stuff. I don't know. It's really cool. So anyway, let me know what you guys think down below of the Kizer Drop Bear. I'm extremely impressed, and that's kind of my take on it. Very surprised in a good way. So I love you guys truly and dearly. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.